The announcement that ended everything. A story of betrayal, dignity, and one mic drop moment. The flowers were perfect. The venue was breathtaking. The dress fit like a dream. But nothing could have prepared me for what I walked into on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. My name is Tina Turner, not the legendary singer, though after today, people in this town would remember my name just as well. I am a naval commander, 14 years of service, 3 deployments, 2 commendations. I have navigated enemy waters, survived hostile territories, and led a crew of 200 through a Category 4 storm in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I thought I had seen everything. I was wrong. Nothing in my military training, not one single day of boot camp, not one classified briefing, not one moment in a war zone, prepared me for the ambush that waited for me inside that wedding reception hall on the afternoon of October 14th. I had met Daniel Whitmore 3 years earlier at a charity gala hosted by the Navy Veterans Foundation. He was tall, charming, with dark eyes that caught the chandelier light and a laugh that made the whole room feel warmer. He was a corporate attorney, successful, polished, articulate. He made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. We dated for 18 months before he proposed on the rooftop of the restaurant where we had our first date. The ring was simple, a single emerald-cut diamond on a platinum band. He knew I didn't like flashy things. He paid attention to details like that, or so I thought. My parents, Robert and Margaret Turner, flew in from Georgia the week before the wedding. My father was a retired Army sergeant. My mother had spent 30 years as a schoolteacher. They were humble people, honest people, people who had sacrificed everything to put me through college and support my military career. People who had driven a 12-year-old sedan to the airport because they refused to fly business class even though I had offered to upgrade their tickets. They were the most important people in my world. I should have paid closer attention to how Daniel's family looked at them during the rehearsal dinner. The morning of the wedding was a blur of hairpins, perfume, and nervous laughter. My maid of honor, Captain Renee Acaffer, my closest friend since our days at the Naval Academy, helped me into my dress while my mother cried quietly in the corner and my father pretended he wasn't doing the same. "You look like an admiral," Renee whispered, adjusting my veil. "I am an admiral," I corrected with a grin. "Well, almost." She laughed, I laughed. My mother laughed through her tears. It was the last time I would laugh without complicated feelings for the rest of that day. The ceremony went beautifully. I walked down the aisle on my father's arm, and when Daniel saw me, he actually teared up. I told myself those tears were real. I told myself the man standing at that altar was the man I believed him to be. We said our vows. We exchanged rings. The officiant pronounced us husband and wife, and Daniel kissed me while 200 guests applauded. For 30 minutes, everything was perfect. Then we walked into the reception hall. I noticed it immediately. My military mind is trained to assess a room in under 10 seconds. Exits, threats, anomalies, chain of command. I clock everything before most people have finished blinking. What I clocked in that reception hall made my blood run cold. The main table, our asterisk table, the one that had been designated for immediate family on both sides, had been completely rearranged. The seating chart we had spent 3 weeks carefully designing was gone. In its place was a new arrangement. Daniel's family, his mother Gloria, his father Richard, his 2 sisters, 3 aunts, 2 uncles, and a cousin I had met exactly once, occupied all 9 seats surrounding the bride and groom positions. My parents were standing near the entrance. Not seated, standing, looking around with polite, confused smiles, programs clutched in their hands, searching for someone to tell them where to go. My father, a man who had served 22 years in the United States Army, who had earned the Bronze Star, who stood straight as a flagpole even at 67, was standing in his own daughter's wedding reception with nowhere to sit. I felt something shift inside me, something quiet and dangerous, like a pressure valve turning slowly in a submarine before it blows. I walked toward my parents, keeping my face neutral. 14 years of military discipline. I know how to keep my face neutral. Mom, Dad, I kissed them both. Let me sort this out. My mother touched my hand. Sweetheart, it's fine. We can sit anywhere. No, I said softly. You can't. I found Daniel near the bar, laughing with his cousins. When I approached him, his expression flickered for just a fraction of a second, so fast that anyone else would have missed it. I didn't miss it. The seating has been changed, I said, keeping my voice low and even. My parents have no seats at the main table. He had the audacity to shrug. My mom made some last-minute adjustments. You know how she is, Tina. It's not a big deal. Your parents can sit at the table right next to ours. The table next to ours is for distant relatives and work colleagues, Daniel. It's still a good table. It's not about the table. He looked at me with those dark eyes, and for the first time, I saw something in them I hadn't noticed before. Something dismissive. Something that said this isn't worth arguing about, and you're overreacting, and just let my mother have this one. Can we talk about it later? He said. We just got married. Can we just enjoy the reception? Before I could respond, I heard a voice behind me. Gloria Whitmore's voice. She hadn't seen me. She was talking to her sister, drink in hand, jewelry gleaming, voice carrying the way voices do when people believe they own every room they enter. Those two, she was saying, nodding subtly in the direction of my parents. Honestly, they look like they wandered in from a church potluck. Did you see what her mother was wearing? And the father, they just look poor, don't they? I don't understand why Daniel settled for. She turned and saw me standing 3 feet away. The silence that followed was enormous. Her face went through 4 different expressions in 2 seconds. Surprise, embarrassment, calculation, recovery. Tina, darling. He agreed, I said. Her eyes flickered to her son. I turned to look at Daniel. And there it was, the confirmation I didn't want but needed. He didn't rush to deny it. He didn't look outraged on my family's behalf. He looked caught like a man who had been complicit in something and was now calculating how to manage the fallout. We just thought, he started. For the photos, the main table should be. For the photos, I repeated. 2 words, that was all I needed. For the photos. My parents, who had worked double shifts, driven modest cars, worn sensible clothes, and given everything they had to raise a daughter who became a naval commander, were not suitable for the photos at their daughter's wedding. Because they looked poor. Because Gloria Whitmore had decided they weren't presentable enough to sit at her son's wedding table. And Daniel, my husband of 47 minutes, had agreed. I am a naval commander. I have given orders that changed the course of situations. I have stood on the bridge of a ship in a storm and kept my voice level while making decisions under pressure. I know the weight of words spoken at exactly the right moment. I also know that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait, assess, choose your moment. I chose mine carefully. Excuse me, I said pleasantly to Daniel and his mother. I need to freshen up. I walked calmly to the restroom, where Renee was fixing her lipstick. She took one look at my face and put down the lipstick. What happened? I told her. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "What do you need?" "The microphone," I said, "and about 4 minutes." She handed me her clutch. Inside was a small folded document. She had carried it as a joke, a gag gift, something we had laughed about at my bachelorette party. It was a copy of my service record. A summary, technically, awards, commendations, rank history, the kind of thing that gets read at military ceremonies and promotion boards. I had forgotten it was in there. Until now. I walked back into the reception hall, my dress perfectly straight, my posture immaculate, my face composed. I found the DJ and spoke 3 sentences to him. He nodded and handed me the microphone. The room went quiet the way rooms do when a person who commands authority picks up a microphone. 200 people turned to look at me. Daniel was watching from across the room, confusion flickering across his features. Gloria was watching too, glass halfway to her lips. My parents were still near the entrance, still holding their programs, still offering polite smiles to people they didn't know. I looked at them first. "Good evening, everyone," I said. My voice was clear and calm. The voice I use on the bridge, the voice that doesn't shake. I want to take a moment before the evening truly begins to introduce two people in this room who I'm not sure everyone has had the pleasure of meeting properly. I extended my hand toward my parents. If my mother and father would come forward, please. My mother looked uncertain. My father, who understood ceremony, who understood the weight of a moment, stood straighter and took my mother's hand and walked forward. 200 people watched them walk toward me. "This," I said, "is Sergeant First Class Robert Turner, United States Army, retired, 22 years of service, veteran of 2 conflicts, recipient of the Bronze Star Medal and the Meritorious Service Medal. He taught me what integrity looks like before I even knew the word." There was a murmur through the room. I saw a few of the older guests, veterans among Daniel's family's friends, sit up straighter. "And this is Margaret Turner, 30 years in public education. She taught 4th grade in rural Georgia where the school had no heating in winter, and she bought supplies with her own salary. She raised me on a teacher's income and a soldier's pride, and she never once complained." My mother's eyes were shining. "These 2 people," I continued, my voice still perfectly level, "drove a 12-year-old car to the airport to come to my wedding, not because they couldn't afford better, but because they believe in living within your means and saving what you earn. They are the reason I had the values to survive 14 years of military service. They are the reason I am standing here today." I paused. "I was told tonight that they look poor, that they are not suitable for the main table, that their appearance might not be appropriate for the wedding photos." The room had gone completely silent. I saw Gloria's face drain of color. I saw Daniel go very still. "I want to be clear," I said, "about who my parents are, and I also want to be clear about who I am." I reached into the small clutch Renee had placed on the table beside me and unfolded the single sheet of paper. "Commander Tina Turner, United States Navy, 14 years of active service, 2 overseas deployments, Congressional Commendation for Crisis Leadership, currently in review for promotion to captain." I looked up from the paper. "I am the highest-ranking person in this room, and the 2 people who asterisk look poor to some of you, those 2 people are the reason I got there." I set down the paper. "My parents will be seated at the main table tonight, as will I." I looked directly at Gloria. "Anyone who is uncomfortable with that arrangement is, of course, welcome to leave." No one moved. No one spoke. My father cleared his throat quietly. He was smiling, not the polite, uncertain smile from earlier, his real smile, the one he wore when he was proud. What happened next, I did not plan. Daniel walked toward the microphone. I handed it to him because I believe in letting people speak. I believe in fairness even when I've been wronged. He stood in front of 200 people, and he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "My mother made a decision tonight that I should have corrected the moment I found out. I didn't, that's on me." He swallowed. "Tina, I am sorry. Your parents deserve every seat at every table." He handed the microphone back to the DJ. It wasn't enough. We both knew it. The days and weeks ahead would prove it. There were conversations that couldn't be undone, patterns that couldn't be unseen, a mother-in-law who had revealed herself completely, and a husband who had agreed until the moment it cost him publicly. But for tonight, in front of 200 witnesses, my father sat at the head of the main table. He straightened his tie, the same tie he had worn to my Naval Academy graduation, and he looked at me across the table with those same quiet eyes that had watched me grow from a girl in Georgia into a commander. "Well done, Tina," he said. The dinner was served. The speeches were made. The cake was cut. And when the first dance began, I danced with my husband under the lights while 200 people watched and wondered what the future held for us. But before that, before the music started and the night softened into something almost normal, I walked back to where Renee was standing with a glass of champagne, watching me with that calm, steady look she has worn since we were 22 years old and terrified at the academy together. "You know what the hardest part of military life is," she said. "What?" "Knowing when the real battle is the one nobody expected." She raised her glass. "Commander." I raised mine. "Commander," I answered. Because here is the thing about women like me. Women trained by institutions that demand your absolute best every single day. Women who have navigated storms and conflict zones and rooms full of people who underestimated them. We don't break. We don't crumble. We assess, we breathe, we choose our moment. And when we speak, when we finally, quietly, perfectly speak, the whole room goes silent. Not because we are loud. Because we are *right. My name is Tina Turner. And I will never, for the rest of my life, allow the people who built me to be made to feel small. Not in my house. Not at my table. Not ever again. And